you never knew. When a person is electrocuted via electric chair, they feel absolutely everything. They're completely aware of their body being deep fried in real time. And one person who survived the first round of electrocution said it tasted like cold peanut butter. As you're watching this video, your internal organs are constantly moving around inside you. Your armpit is where most of your important nerves in your arms are, so if you stab it, it will leave your arm completely useless. Ted Bundy, the serial killer, used to work at a suicide hotline. Scaphism was a form of ancient torture where someone's body was tied between two boats and they were covered in milk and honey, and bugs and other animals would feast on their body for days. Cotard's delusion is a rare condition where people literally think they're dead, and many of them ask to be taken to a cemetery to be with other dead people. There are over 200 dead bodies on Mount Everest, and they're used as checkpoints by climbers. If you die inside of your house, it's very common that your pet is going to want to eat you. You wouldn't do that, would you? Neil Armstrong's footprints on the moon don't match up with the ones on his astronaut suit.
Imagine going to a family Christmas dinner and almost everyone dies from poisoning. This woman tried to kill her husband's entire family by giving them a cake she baked that was laced with arsenic. 3 family members passed away, 3 others were hospitalized, and this woman who poisoned everyone ended up taking her own life in jail. This all happened on December 23rd when 42-year-old Diaz Mora baked a cake and invited her husband's entire family over. That evening, they began cutting the cake that they would normally eat on Christmas Eve, and almost everyone complained about the taste and that it tasted a little weird. But they still ate a significant amount of cake, and almost everyone felt sick right away, and 3 people died right then and there. Investigators tested all the ingredients in the house and found that the flour used in the cake was laced with arsenic. But what's absolutely crazy is that a couple of months earlier, Diaz's father-in-law also suddenly died, and they exhumed his body and found high levels of poison. So they think that she also took his life. Now, you guys are probably wondering, well, what was the motive? Why did she do this? At first, the family didn't understand what caused her to commit this crime, but then they thought about it and they remembered a disagreement they had 20 years ago. 20 years ago. And they believe that she might have not got over this disagreement, and that's why she tried to unalive everyone. But things don't even end there, because while Diaz sat in prison, her husband told her that he wanted a divorce, and a day later, she took her own life.
On the evening of June 24th, 1993, 14-year-old Elizabeth Pena and 16-year-old Jennifer Ertman left a friend's pool party in Houston, Texas, and decided to walk home to their houses together. However, they would never make it back. On that night, 6 members of a local gang were drinking and fighting amongst each other, and they had decided that that night they were going to initiate their newest member, Raul Villarreal, and basically induct him into the gang. Jennifer and Elizabeth had been best friends for years, and they had walked home together many times. However, that night they decided to take a shortcut, which would lead them along some railroad tracks in the White Oak Bayou area and through T.C. Jester Park. At one point, when the girls were walking home, they passed by this group of 6 guys who were fighting amongst each other and drinking, and that's when things took an extremely dark turn. They first grabbed Elizabeth Pena, and when she tried to fight and resist, her friend Jennifer jumped in and tried to save her. However, this led to Jennifer being targeted as well. These 6 men would then subject Jennifer and Elizabeth to a gang rape that lasted over an hour and included elements of beating and physical and sexual torture. After this hour-long gang rape, they decided that it was time to kill the girls. First, they attempted to strangle Jennifer Ertman with a belt, but the belt snapped, and they eventually decided to continue strangling her until she was dead with a shoelace. Sadly, Elizabeth tried to escape, but she was eventually captured, and she was then beaten and strangled to death as well. For 4 days, Jennifer and Elizabeth were missing. Nobody had any idea what had happened to them or where they were, and this was all that anybody in Houston was talking about, the disappearance of these 2 normal teenage girls. However, 4 days later, their bodies were found in the area where they had been killed, and unfortunately, they were so badly decomposed at this point already that they had to be identified through dental records. So all 6 of the gang members were eventually arrested and prosecuted. 5 of them received death sentences, and 2 of them later had those death sentences turned to life in prison. Now, 3 of these gang members have been executed by now, but I want to talk about Venancio down here. Venancio was only 14 years old when he participated in the gang rape and murder of these 2 girls, and he is actually up for parole right now. He was sentenced to only 40 years in prison, which means that regardless if he gets parole or not, he's going to be out in the public in Texas in about 8 years. To me, this is absolutely unacceptable and horrific, and I cannot even imagine what Jennifer and Elizabeth's families feel about this situation. A memorial was eventually erected to Elizabeth and Jennifer in the area where they were killed, which you can visit to this day in TC Jester Park. But there's a lot more to this story. My wife and I just covered this case on our podcast, Murder in America. And if you want to listen, the show is on all streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your shows.
Sauce the boss, yo, sauce the boss, of course. Hence, it's the same sauce.
I thought this was really absurd, but just hear me out, right? There was a massive footprint found in the side of a hill in Africa, and this footprint was 4 feet high. And the archaeologists who found this said it was in between 400 million and 3 billion years old. And this foot would belong to something 27 feet tall. What's crazy about it is, like, when you step in mud, the mud comes up, right? Just like how it did when you could see, like, where the mud came up when this foot stepped in it. Then they found a giant finger in Egypt that was 38 centimeters long and should be belonging to something that is 16 feet tall. And I would also like to mention the fact that a bunch of these, like, cavemen and all these paintings have giants in them. So are giants real or just a myth? Let me know down in the comments.
There are some crazy things happening in the world right now. A man was fired after his employer discovered that his home office was actually a Carnival Cruise Line ship for 14 months. This is a visual that shows what the US Senate looks like by generation. Baby boomers are 61%, while millennials are only 4%. A new federal review came out that 44% of US trucking schools do not comply with government rules. A new study found that AI chatbots have used incorrect information to change people's political opinions. A Kansas accountant stole $400,000 from his own family, transferred it to a fake ranch called Middle Finger Ranch, and then used that money to pay for the construction of his new home. NASA spacecraft were vulnerable to hacking for 3 years, and nobody knew until AI found it and fixed it within 4 days. Half of all plastics production in human history has happened since the launch of Instagram. My name's Adorian. Follow me to stay in the loop.
I bet you didn't know what happened on this film set. I've spoken a lot before about The Wizard of Oz and how it's one of the most evil films ever made. We all know the horrendous things that happened on the set of that movie. But what you probably didn't realize was what happened on the set of the movie Titanic. There wasn't any reported abuse or fake hanging munchkins in the trees or anything like that, but somebody did try to kill the entire crew. So I'll let you make your own mind up there. In 1997, the final night of filming the Titanic had come. While filming in Nova Scotia, Canada, 80 of the crew and cast members, including the director James Cameron, were rushed to hospital and all in a pretty severe state. Well, it was after they all ate PCP-laced chowder. So the food that they had for dinner was like a lobster sort of dish that they were all eating. Every single one of the cast and crew there was eating this. Now, if you don't know what PCP is, it's actually a hallucinogenic drug. This, of course, temporarily put a halt on production while the people were in hospital, but it did resume very shortly after. No one did die, but they were left in a very bad state, not the way you want to finish your filming. There was a large investigation conducted into it, but still to this day, no one really knows exactly what happened. But the way the PCP was laced into the food, somebody did it. This wasn't just like an error. Somebody on the crew or one of the cast had decided they wanted to severely harm, if not kill, all of the crew, so laced the food with this stuff. But still, as I say to this day, no one knows who that was, but let me know who you think it could have been.
Imagine beating someone up on the streets who deserves it so badly that you literally get an award from your city. Well, it's actually what just happened in Hawaii a few days ago when this tourist from Seattle got caught on camera throwing a massive rock at a seal. Although that was already bad enough, this just so happened to be a highly endangered monk seal, a species that's not only culturally important, it's also incredibly loved by all of the locals. And when some of these locals quickly confronted the guy and told him he could be fined up to $50,000, all he said in response was, "I don't care, I'm rich, I visit Hawaii every few months." Now, the guy probably just went on with his day and didn't think much of it, but what he never expected was for this clip to just go insanely viral and all this personal information to soon get leaked. Since people realized that Igor Litvinchuk actually owned a trucking company called IL Logistics, they quickly started bombing it with negative reviews and spam calls. When a Hawaiian native just so happened to find Igor on the street, he gave him a little piece of his own mind. And now the mayor of Maui County has personally promised to federally prosecute Igor, which could include jail time. When a clip of this local beating him up was shown in court, everyone kept his identity anonymous and just called him an environmental activist and awarded him as an ambassador of Aloha.
Our attorney over here wants to make it clear we don't condone violence.
About you, and it's no one else like you is what they're getting. Positive vibes only. Shout out to King Saul's boss in the building.
China needs to chill the hell out. Unitary Robotics have just unveiled what they say is the world's first production-ready manned mecha called the GD-01. You know shit's real when they have to warn everyone to be sure to use the robot in a friendly and safe manner. Bro, we about to get some super villains. Now, not only is this thing massive, standing at 8'8", weighing 1,100 pounds with the pilot inside, so way bigger than a human, but also it looks like it can punch through walls and switch between two-legged and four-legged movement on command. Now, the reason people are losing their minds is that this isn't just a prototype like we've seen many times before. This is now a real commercial product that anyone can buy. The first of its kind for $650,000. But believe it or not, that actually is considered a pretty reasonable price for the robotics that will go into this. The big question is, we copping or what?
Give me 60 seconds and I will convince you that oceanic white tip sharks are scarier than great white sharks. Yeah, even scarier than this great white shark. Oceanic white tips make great white sharks look as cute and cuddly as the one in this photo does. Oceanic white tips were responsible for the largest shark attack in history. This is the USS Indianapolis. There were 890 men alive when it sunk. They recovered 316. Nobody knows how many were taken out by oceanic white tips, but some estimate up to 150. They have been known and documented to get into what is called a feeding frenzy. You might say, well, if these things are so dangerous, how come the number of attacks from oceanic white tips is nowhere near the number from great whites or tiger or bull sharks? It's because they spend far less time near humans. They live in the open ocean. But you know what comes with living in the open ocean? A lot less access to food. That means when they see food, they have to take it. And guess what else oceanic white tips are known to do? These are the sharks that are the most likely to follow ships. That means if you fall off the ship or your ship sinks, you're going to be running into some of these guys. But you know what? Don't take my word for it. Listen to Jacques Cousteau. He was the inventor of scuba. He was in the Navy. He devoted his life to studying the ocean and making documentaries about it. He said oceanic white-tip sharks are the most dangerous sharks. Researchers who study oceanic white-tip sharks have said on average they weigh 80 pounds less than they did 20 years ago. In other words, they're hungry.
You know why something evil has to ask permission to come into your house? It sort of goes back to this old belief that nothing evil, nothing negative can enter into your life, can enter into your home unless you give it permission. See, we naturally have this protective barrier surrounding us. Some people call it guardian angels. Some people call it, a protective spirit. But we are naturally protected from these sort of things. But these evil, these negative entities try and break us down and get us to open that space, to allow them to come in. And so our homes, where we live, where we love, where we share intimate moments, right? That becomes a protective space. And this evil entity cannot enter through that doorway until you give it permission. Now, this story comes out of North Carolina. There was this woman who said when she was a young girl, she grew up in a small home up in the Appalachian Mountains. And she said when they first moved into this house, she remembers at night hearing what sounded like young children out in the woods laughing and saying things and calling her to come outside. And she would see shadows moving across her window like someone was walking around out there. She just ignored it, and she really had no idea what was going on. And she had heard stories, she had heard rumors from friends, that if anything evil comes to your door or invites you outside, do not listen to them, do not follow. Well, this one particular night, her parents left her in charge of watching her brothers and sisters. And she said they were running around the house playing when all of a sudden she got kind of this sick feeling in her stomach, like something was wrong. And she said her brother started screaming and started freaking out and crying. And she's like, what's going on? Like, what's wrong? And he says, they're coming for us. Like, they're going to get us. They're coming. And she's like, what are you talking about? Who's coming? And he just kept saying, like, they're coming. And all of a sudden they hear boom, 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 like a knock at the front door. So she runs over to the window and she looks out. And she said at the front door was this young boy, you know, with an old-timey haircut and wearing sort of like this blue jacket and blue pants with these like black boots. And she said he just looked out of place. She knew something was wrong. So she calls out to him from behind the door. Yes, like, what do you want? What do you need? And she said this boy responded, please let me in. Please let me.
Little quote from this news report about her. During the days she remained missing, another video circulated on social media in which the influencer reads a statement accusing a criminal group known as La Maiza, also referred to as Los Mayos, a faction linked to the Sinaloa cartel, of pressuring individuals like her to participate in criminal activities tied to organized crime. In the same video, she alleges being forced to hand over money to state patrols on behalf of a figure identified as El Maito Flaco, among other claims. So what exactly went down here, we still don't really know. I don't think she's ever spoken about this, at least not that I could find. But this is just another reason why you don't mess around in Mexico.
Sauce the boss. It's his birthday. Everybody wish him happy birthday.
Oh, this is big right here, y'all. Everybody wish Sauce, the official boss.
Oh, man.
Happy birthday, man. Let's go. Let's see it in the timeline.
If you're feeling down, just get you a bag of that. Just light up.
I like the wish.
Can't fire Mr. Head Can't greet him with two, only the third eye. Killer vision, PSER, Rent Hospital. Let me on the track. Accidents to operas. Conscience, unconscious.
I like to give a big shout to Ashley Gordon.
Denzel, Chris Pine, unstoppable. Albert Einstein. Imagination is more important than knowledge, therefore I'm flying off the tracks. Extraterrestrial blunt, I got it on my lap. When I land, soul train line, hop up on my dad. They fear what they don't understand. I forgive them because they don't really know no better. Hope let them walk on water. I'm dancing in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean with a polo sweater. How bad do you want success? I was holding my breath unconsciously. The conscious me woke up and came up for air. I turned 1-3-6 to the pump, but ain't dancing bachata, guaranteed them in the dreams. Fight miss, Mr. Clean. Dirty talk, come shots, Listerine. The devil tried to catch me slipping, but my third eye open. I see when I don't know. Body growing out the ground. I'm breathing a cup. The pressure coming, they mention up. You can count on the fingerless hand how many people I can trust. The word play insane. Meditate, bring down a plane with no passengers on it. Facing the blunt, putting managers on it. Push the T out of two ways. Malices wasn't on it. I stayed to myself. I'm known as the cool kid. Come to the moolah. G's on his head like the school days between two legs. The pussy is the basket. I finish the dunk, pull out and shoot my cool J. You see how I do what I do, man.
Friday night. Could be anywhere in the world. He's watching us.